The Resident Evil series has no shortage of monsters, but the more you uncover about its story, the more your idea of what a monster is begins to change. Lisa Trevor was one of those unique enemies who felt like just another experiment gone wrong. But once you learn what the game doesn't tell you outright, about what she actually was, you realize she wasn't a monster at all. She was just made by one. Lisa's biology was extraordinarily rare, and that made her story all the more tragic. Not just because of what was done to her, but because of what she might have been, had her life taken a different path. She became one of Umbrella's most important test subjects, and in time, one of their most unique creations. What was it about her biology that made her so special, and so valuable to Umbrella? It all started in the 1960s. A wealthy British aristocrat named Oswell E. Spencer had a vision to create a world of an advanced human race, a biological successor to modern humanity. Unfortunately, he wasn't just rich, he was also intelligent. And in his case, that intelligence was paired with endless resources and an obsession that could go either way. Trained in virology and consumed by the ideals of eugenics, Spencer became fixated on one single question. What if the key to human evolution already existed somewhere on Earth? His resources and curiosity led him deep into the heart of West Africa, where he found the ruins of an ancient civilization hidden within a cave system. And there, he found exactly what he was looking for, a rare flower that harbored an RNA-based virus. Spencer named it the progenitor virus. It was extraordinarily lethal, killing nearly every human or animal it infected. But in extremely rare cases, a host's unique genetics would allow the virus to assimilate into their body, granting superhuman traits, enhanced regeneration, near immortality, heightened strength, speed, endurance, immunity to disease, and even an increase in intelligence. To most, this would have sounded like a very bad idea, a clear warning sign, but to Spencer, it was an opportunity. Knowing there were still a few individuals who could survive and become everything he envisioned. He saw the cave paintings of those who became gods, and how the flower had become a symbol of divinity. To Spencer, it was a prophecy he intended to fulfill. In his mind, it was now his turn to play God, and he would use science to do it. And so he did. Spencer founded a pharmaceutical company called Umbrella, presented to the public as a benevolent corporation producing cures to help those in need. In reality, it was a front for pursuing his dream, no matter the cost. Because of the nature of its experiments, secrecy was one of Spencer's highest priorities. Umbrella's research facilities were hidden far from public view, either in remote locations or deep underground. One such facility was built in the Arklay Mountains, a dense and isolated forest. A giant mansion constructed not only to conceal the lab beneath, but also for deterring, and if necessary, eliminating any intruders or spies who might try to steal or expose Umbrella's research. Spencer hired a prominent American architect from New York named George Trevor, famous for his ingenuity and intelligence in design, often incorporating secret rooms and anti-intruder traps. Trevor's unique style was exactly what Spencer needed to create a mansion inspired by his family estate in Europe. Given limitless funding, Trevor began work, crafting a mansion that was both luxurious and filled with elaborate traps. After its completion, Trevor became preoccupied with some work, delaying his own visit to stay at the mansion. Instead, he sent his wife Jessica and daughter Lisa ahead of him. 3 days after their arrival, Trevor finally reached the mansion. But they were nowhere to be found. During dinner, Spencer told him that already left earlier to visit his aunt who was feeling unwell. Trevor was then given an official tour of the completed mansion, filled with Spencer's art collections and rare pieces. Trevor had assumed the mansion would be used as a private retreat due to the secrecy surrounding its construction, but he was confused when Spencer said it would be where his company employees would stay. Unbeknownst to Trevor, something far more sinister lay beneath the estate. While exploring one day, he noticed strange details that didn't match his original design. He discovered a large hole behind an artificial waterfall in the courtyard, part of the underground lab under construction, but he was quickly escorted away by men in white uniforms. He voiced his concerns to Spencer and mentioned his plans to leave the next day, but Trevor's fate had already been decided long before. The following day, while admiring artwork with Spencer, one of the white uniformed men began to say something about Trevor's family, but before he could finish, Trevor was knocked unconscious from behind. He woke up locked in a room, and after days of captivity, realized the truth. He was the only outsider who knew the mansion's secrets, and Spencer saw him as a liability. He knew he was never going to leave this mansion alive, or get to see his family again. While trying to escape, Trevor found his wife's shoe, confirming that his family had never left the mansion, or maybe something even worse. For days, he evaded Spencer's guards and went into hiding in unfinished passages. Weak from starvation and dehydration, he struggled to remember the same puzzles and passages he had designed. Eventually, he found a pit leading to a passage blocked by a heavy stone engraved with his own name. It was his grave, prepared in advance. Accepting his fate, Trevor wrote final notes to his wife and daughter, praying they were safe, before dying of thirst and starvation in the depths of the mansion he had built. Unfortunately, his prayers would never be answered. While he was trapped in the dark, growing weaker by the hour from hunger and thirst, Spencer's scientists were already moving forward with the next phase of their plan. Jessica and Lisa, unaware of George's fate, were taken deeper into the mansion, into the hidden labs. There, they became unwilling test subjects for Umbrella's most dangerous secret, the progenitor virus, extracted from that rare flower Spencer had discovered in Africa. For most people, this virus was a death sentence, but in the rarest cases, it could grant abilities far beyond human limits. Jessica was injected with the Type A strain, while Lisa received the Type B. For Jessica, the effects were immediate and merciless. Her body rejected the virus, and her mental and physical health worsened rapidly as the experiments continued. In her moments of clarity, she realized she had to escape with Lisa before it was too late. But before she could act, her body finally gave out. The researchers, having no further use for a subject with such poor compatibility, disposed of her without ceremony. Lisa's reaction to the virus was far different. Against all odds, her body adapted, not perfectly, but enough for the virus to take hold and grant her unnatural endurance and strength. Although she wasn't the ideal host, her rare genetics allowed her to accept the virus and develop superhuman traits. She was one of those rare natural adapters Spencer so desperately sought, showing early signs of mutation along with her enhanced strength, though her mental state deteriorated instead. The strain was still an unrefined prototype, far from the perfect version Spencer envisioned. Nonetheless, it was a step closer to his dream. Lisa became much stronger, but at the cost of her sanity. Her mind began to fracture, leaving only a desperate fixation on being reunited with her mother. In an attempt to pacify her, one of the researchers impersonated Jessica. But even in her weakened mental state, Lisa sensed something was wrong, and the plan backfired horribly. During a meal, she realized the woman before her wasn't her real mother. In a violent outburst, she attacked, convinced the imposter had stolen Jessica's face. She cut off the researcher's face and grafted the skin onto her own, in hopes of returning it to her mother. From that moment on, Lisa's humanity was effectively gone. In the chaos following that incident, Lisa briefly escaped confinement in search of her parents. She discovered a tomb in an underground cave system, sealed shut with 4 heavy stones and metal restraints. Lisa could smell her mother's presence inside the coffin, but she lacked the strength or wits to open it. Umbrella staff eventually recaptured her and returned her to the labs, where she was continuously experimented on due to her rare immunity. By the end of 1967, the Trevor family's fate was sealed. George and Jessica were dead, and Lisa had been transformed into something inhuman, condemned to decades of endless experimentation. Lisa was further experimented on for the next 20 years in the Arklay labs, kept under such secrecy that even many researchers didn't know her name, and some staff had no idea she even existed. Her condition continued to worsen from the relentless testing. She was chained to her bed, fed through an IV, and moved around in a wheelchair. Around 1978, the facility appointed a new chief researcher, Dr. William Birkin, alongside Albert Wesker, who was already working for Umbrella. Both men were fascinated by Lisa's ability to survive countless viral experiments. They began using her as a testing ground for high-risk projects. Over the years, Lisa mutated but never became the controllable POW Umbrella wanted. It was during this time that the European branch of Umbrella developed the NE Alpha parasite, a prototype designed to allow hosts to retain their higher brain functions during mutation, though at the cost of being extremely lethal. Lisa was the perfect test subject for this parasite. Wesker and Birkin implanted it into her body, expecting it to take control of her brain. Instead, something unprecedented happened. Her immune system fought off the parasite and absorbed it entirely, assimilating its genetic material into her own biology. The parasite simply vanished inside her, and Lisa gained some cognitive function after decades of mental incapacity. But that wasn't all. Lisa would go on to play a far greater role in Umbrella's future and become one of their most important assets. After confirming the NE Alpha parasite's integration, Birkin examined her blood and discovered a completely new viral strain, born from Lisa's unique biology. This virus would later be developed into the infamous G virus, an even more dangerous pathogen than the T virus. After surviving all these experiments, Lisa's regenerative capabilities were off the charts. She could endure immense damage and recover from it with terrifying efficiency. The NE Alpha parasite had also restored part of her cognitive function, but with it came the resurfacing of traumatic memories of her parents. Her obsession returned in full force, and she once again became a danger to the staff at the facility, tearing off their faces as she had done in the past. By the mid-1990s, Lisa had become an uncontrollable hazard, roaming the facility's dark corridors, a grotesque deformed creature with superhuman strength and a penchant for stalking and skinning researchers. After 3 scientists were killed by her, Umbrella deemed her too dangerous to keep alive and dispatched the USS to execute her. The team ambushed her with heavy weapons. They waited 3 full days before declaring her deceased. Her seemingly lifeless body was disposed of, but Lisa's regenerative ability allowed her to heal even from this, and escaped into the surrounding Arklay Mountains. By the end of 1995, Lisa Trevor was finally free of Umbrella's torture, but she was never truly free from the torment her own body and mind inflicted on her. She made her home in a cabin deep in the woods outside the mansion, and used the cave system beneath the estate to move unseen. She wasn't a complete zombie. She still had enough awareness for her to make a home in both the caves and the cabin, where she would live for the years to come. Then came July 1998, the day the STARS team was dispatched to investigate a series of mysterious disappearances in the Arklay Mountains. It wasn't just Lisa who was roaming the forests. A major accident had occurred at the Arklay facility, one that left the researchers unable to contain their experiments. The T-virus had escaped and swept through the entire lab, then spread to the mansion above, and eventually into the surrounding forest. Some of Umbrella's bioweapons had escaped, and STARS was sent to find out what happened. Their mission quickly turned into a fight for survival, as they were pursued into the mansion by these monstrosities. Inside, they found themselves overrun by all of Umbrella's nightmares, now roaming freely through the mansion's halls. Eventually, they reached the cabin outside the mansion, and that's where Lisa found them. To the team, she was just another monster that needed to be put down. But no matter how many bullets they put into her, she refused to stay dead. During their escape, they stumbled into the cave system Lisa used to move around. There, they discovered Jessica's stone coffin, sealed with chains and 4 heavy stones, the same coffin Lisa had never been able to open. Once again, Lisa confronted them, but this time the STARS members managed to break the seals and open the coffin, unwittingly granting Lisa the one thing she had wanted for decades. Inside were her mother's long-preserved remains. For a brief moment, Lisa's rage faded. She took her mother's skull, holding it close. Then, rather than continue her attack, she hurled herself into a nearby chasm, disappearing into the darkness below. Lisa had finally achieved the only peace she ever sought, reuniting with her mother. The STARS team left, unsure if Lisa Trevor had truly died in the fall, but at least for the moment, she was gone. Their escape was far from over though. Albert Wesker, Star's leader and longtime Umbrella operative, revealed himself as a double agent. He had been orchestrating events from the start, and was also one of the researchers who had experimented on Lisa years earlier. In his bid to steal Umbrella's research and wipe out any evidence of the T-virus outbreak, Wesker activated the facility's self-destruct system. He activated the Tyrant, one of Umbrella's most advanced bioweapons, to see how it would fare against Stars, but it turned on him instead, impaling him through the chest. The surviving Stars members managed to destroy the Tyrant, but surprisingly, Wesker didn't die. Despite the nature of the injury he received in this, his body regenerated almost instantly, eerily similar to Lisa's own abilities. As he attempted to escape before the explosion, he crossed paths with Lisa, who was still alive, once more. She recognized him as one of the researchers who had experimented on her years earlier and attacked. Wesker managed to outmaneuver and outsmart her, dropping a massive chandelier onto her before making his escape. Moments later, the mansion exploded with Lisa still inside. Almost 30 years after her abduction, Lisa Trevor was officially declared dead. Whether she truly perished in that explosion, however, is a question no one can answer. In many ways, Lisa was the first true proof of concept for everything Spencer dreamed of when he discovered that virus in Africa. She embodied the rare genetic compatibility he had spent years searching for. Yet, instead of being elevated to the godhood he envisioned, she was left to suffer in isolation, while the others reaped the benefits of her torment. Every breakthrough that fueled the Wesker project, every refinement to the virus that allowed hosts like Albert and Alex Wesker to survive with their minds intact, and Alexia Ashford to bond with the T. Veronica virus without losing herself, came from the foundation Lisa unwillingly provided. The prototype strain that Wesker was injected with, the one that later allowed him to regenerate from the injury he received from the Tyrant, was only possible because of the stability first observed in her. Lisa's seemingly limitless regenerative abilities and exceptional viral stability, surpassing almost any other BOW Umbrella ever created, made her body the ultimate blueprint, a foundation for later horrors such as the experiments with the G-virus found in her blood and the Nemesis program. With her unique biology, Lisa could have been the perfected version of the gods from the cave paintings Spencer idolized, if they had chosen to develop her rather than dissect her. But Umbrella never saw her as a person, only as data, as a step towards something greater. Once her usefulness had ended, Umbrella abandoned her, not as the monster they had made, but as a quiet reminder of the real monster in the story: Umbrella itself.